Chicho again for his word of wisdom.
Yes.
Could we please give him a round of applause? And we are truly honored to have him with us and also in oneness with us. At this time, we are going to have Benita Rivera. I know you're here. Oh, yes. And Benita is going to speak a little bit about 10 years of Bloomberg mayoral control and the dictatorship we have lived under mayoral control, Bloomberg.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Mayor Bloomberg. I actually didn't know very much in 2002. I hadn't really been paying attention as a parent of 2 children. Was not at all invested in the governance structure. Sure, I went to PTA meetings. Sure, I was that parent who brought the cupcakes and who went to open school night all the time. And if there was a problem, I was there. If they needed something, paper towels, toilet paper, call upon me, crayons, I was there. Other than that, I went to work. And my focus was making sure that my children had a roof, food, medical care, clothes, were happy, did things after school and during the summer like most parents, especially most single parents. I thought that teaching and what went on inside schools, that was left for educators, and clearly there was a divide between what happened in the school building and what happened at home, and I naively thought that we were partners. When it came to, I think it was about 2004, and my son was in middle school. First time around, there was a choice of 12 high schools to choose from, and it was utter chaos. Nobody knew how to choose 12 high schools, and where do we even start? The guidance counselor at my son's middle school, huge middle school in Brooklyn, had 13 6th grades. That's a lot of 6th grades. 7th grades, 8th grades, and there were hundreds upon hundreds of children in that school, and one guidance counselor trying to figure out for a lot of parents how to help them choose from a list of, I guess, like hundreds. At that time, I think there were about 340 high schools. And all I knew was that my kid, black and Puerto Rican boy, should not end up in, my quote, homeboy high. I wanted him to have an education and go to college. That was the dream from the time he was born, and like many, many, many parents, I thought that he would be on that path at a good, quote-unquote, good high school. Mayor Bloomberg created chaos, absolute chaos across the city in every situation, whether it was looking at high schools, whether it was looking at middle schools, whether it was looking at kindergartens. Parents were thrown into tumult. I hope that's a word. And who were we supposed to turn to? Where do we go? Who is going to advise us or give us guidance? And yes, there was a Department of Education, a Board of Education, because that's the term that we all used. So we looked at the Board of Education's website, which pages just never worked, or you would follow a link and then the link would be dead. And if I'm right, can you like shake your heads? Like, do you remember back then? And that's exactly what happened. And so I can tell this story really about mayoral control. And I'm sorry that I make it so personal, but as a parent who had dreams and aspirations for a boy child of color living in extremely hard financial times. I didn't feel like I had very many options, and holding on to those dreams and aspirations that I had for my child. When he took tests, high-stake tests, I remember taking my son to Stuyvesant High School to take that test. And him coming out with a feeling like, okay, well, you know, like, what are we going to do now, Mom? And I worried. And I worried until I saw the scores, and then I didn't quite understand how he missed it. And that door that I thought was going to be a good high school and, you know, project him on was closed for forever. And then, like, what else do we do? Fortunately, you know, I had a son who was articulate, and I thought, okay, well, we have a whole list of 12 high schools here, so let's go down the list and see what else we can. And we went and visited high schools. And really what I saw was scary and appalling, and certainly not on the path of the dreams and aspirations that I had. My kid ended up in a vocational high school that I did not know was vocational high school, only because the information was so confusing. And he went to Art and Design High School, and in my mind, I thought art and design, back in the day when I was in high school, you know, we had a vision of high schools because we knew their names, and they had a certain, like, reputation. And we knew people who had graduated from there, and you know, there was a sense of being in New York, a New Yorker, that there were, like, roots, and you could, you know, trace back roots. You knew that Barbara Streisand went to Erasmus Hall High School. You know, you just kind of knew things about high schools. Well, that all of a sudden really changed, because here's Art and Design High School, which is a now vocational school, and the guidance counselor, when I asked about, well, what's the 9th grade reading list, the college prep reading list, and he said to me, because my last name is Rivera, Mommy, why you worried about what he's reading? You know, like, you want him to read, give him some books at home. Like, here we're going to prepare him to get a job. This is a guidance counselor. Insulted? Yeah. More than that, though, really hurt, because I felt that based upon my son's name and the way that he looked, that he was already slated for a direction that was not the direction that I wanted for him. Trying to get him out because of the rules and regulations, trying to get him to transfer, that was impossible. The changes in the Board of Education, because I'm still thinking that that's what it's called, not knowing enough. Remember, this is like 2004. Where do we go? How do we do that? You know, where do I show up to say this direction is not the direction that I want? And I believe I have a right to direct my child's education, to ask these questions. There was an incident at the high school, and it was a safety issue. It was a health issue. My kid had an asthma attack in class, and Mr. Vargas, the social studies teacher, had such a thick accent that he was writing on the wall one day, and he was writing about the Sahara Desert, and he spelled desert as though it were dessert. And the children in the class laughed. And he was really incensed about that, and decided that the next day there's going to be a pop quiz. My son had gym every single day, and came from the gym class up 6 flights, went into social studies class, pop quiz. He couldn't catch his breath, and he said, Mr. Vargas, I can't breathe. And the kids told him he can't breathe. Well, long story short, my son passed out. Dad's called EMS. Take him to the hospital. That's when I got the call. And that allowed, that horrible incident, you never know how the Creator works, but that horrible incident allowed my son to transfer out of that high school. It was a mistake, and sometimes mistakes happen. I remember Mr. Vargas' name because my child was hurt, and we always remember the hurt. He went into the Henry Street School for International Studies.